Welcome everybody to today's deck list video. Today we are going over the Amazement archetype. This is an archetype based around trap cards that you can either equip onto your opponent's monsters or equip onto your own Amazement monsters. Just a reminder to hit the subscribe button, hit the little red bell, and tickle that like button. Without further ado, let's hop into the video. Starting off, we have Amazement Administrator Arlecchino. Once per turn, you can banish any number of attraction traps from your graveyard to target that many cards your opponent controls and destroy them. When you activate a trap card, whether it's during your turn or your opponent's, he automatically gets special summon onto the field. And when your opponent normal or special summons a monster, once per turn, you can then equip an Amazement trap from your deck onto that monster. So Arlecchino is your boss monster in the deck. You kind of get him on the field and then use his destruction effects to ruin your opponent's board, and use his interruption by equipping traps from your deck, like the Vortex or the Horror House. Next up, we play 3 copies of Amazement Attendant Comica. When it's normal summon, you can set an attraction trap directly from your deck, and quick effect, you can switch one of your attraction traps equipped to a monster to either an Amazement or one of your opponent's monsters. So, you get her on the field and you can get any one of your Amazement cards, and then you can kind of move around what's equipped onto who on the field. So she's kind of a great support card for late game when you've got plenty, or she's just great to start out your turn. Next up, we have 3 copies of Amazement Assistant Delia. You can reveal a trap in your hand that is an attraction trap to special summon Delia. You can send an attraction trap from your hand or face-up field to the grave to set one with a different name from your deck. So, great way to cycle. Let's say you have one of your traps that you don't really need right now. You can swap it out for one of them that'll come in handy. So, Delia is a great way to kind of get through the deck. And for the last of the monsters, we play 2 Bufo. If you want to play Heavenly Sky Prison, I recommend swapping him out for Bufo, but I play pure Amazement, so I play Bufo instead. When this card's normal summoned, you can target an attraction trap in your grave, and one face-up monster your opponent controls, and equip the trap from grave onto your opponent's monster. Then it has the same effect that Comica did, where you can swap what attractions are equipped to. And onto the spells, I play 3 copies of Amazement Precious Park. During your main phase, you can activate 1 attraction trap the turn it was sent. And during the end phase, you can send an attraction trap you control, equipped to a monster, to the grave, to target one of your attraction traps with a different name that is banished or in your grave, and set it. So this is a great going first card, as it can possibly allow you to get to your Arlecchino on the field first turn, which is a great way to interrupt your opponent's plays. Next, we play 3 copies of Amazement Special Show. When a card or effect is activated that targets an Amazement monster, target one of those Amazements you control, return it to the hand, then special summon an Amazement monster from hand. So this is effectively just there to dodge any of your opponent's effects, and that's it. If you want more draw power for the deck, I'd recommend swapping this out for a Pot of Extravagance, but I like it because it's a good protection if you do have your Arlecchino on the board and they try to out him with something. Next up, your search card in the deck is Amazing Time Ticket. You can pay 800 life to activate an effect depending on whose turn it is. If it's your turn, you can add an Amazement card from deck to hand, which usually you want your Arlecchino, but it really depends on what you got. And during your opponent's turn, you can set a trap directly from your deck that can be activated this turn. So once again, Time Ticket's a great way to get some interruption on your board. Next up, I play 3 Pot of Duality. There's not really a lot of special summoning in this deck. It's mostly monsters. And the one guy that you do want to special summon, you can summon on your opponent's turn if you're able to normal a Comica or even a Delia. So it's just a good way to get into the deck and get some of the cards you need for your combo. Next, 1 Terraforming, just to search out the field spell, because it is that useful in a deck where you play the majority trap cards. So it's a good way to, once again, get that deck thinner so you're drawing into your important traps. Speaking of important traps, we're starting with 3 copies of Amazement Cyclocoaster. You can target one Amazement you control or one face-up monster your opponent controls and equip this card to it. And then it gains an effect depending on who it's equipped to. If it's equipped to your monster, you can target a spell or trap your opponent controls, then send this and that card to the grave. If it's equipped to your opponent, you can add an Amazement monster from your deck, then send this to the grave. So this is your back row removal and a secondary search if you need it. Next up, we play 3 copies of Amaze Traction Horror House. It has the same effect where when it's activated, you can target an Amazement monster or one of your opponent's monsters to equip it to. And then it gains the effect that if it's equipped to one of your monsters, you can negate an opponent's monster effect till the end of the turn. And if you equip it to an opponent's monster, you can change the equipped monster face down. So it can either be an Imperm or a Book of Moon, which is pretty dang good. Next up, we play 3 copies of Amazement Family Faces. You can target a monster your opponent controls equipped with an attraction trap and equip it with the Amazement Family Faces. When that happens, you take control of your opponent's monster, it becomes an Amazement monster, and it gains 500 attack. However, it cannot activate its effects anymore. So, this is a great way for late game if you have, let's say, your Arlecchino equips a Cyclocoaster onto your opponent's monster. You can just flip this and suddenly they're all out of monsters, and you can start swinging in for damage, which is something this deck definitely has a little bit of a problem with. Next up, we'll play 3 Viking Vortex. This card, when it's equipped to your opponent's monster, if the opponent's monster activates its effect, it's returned to the hand, and when it's equipped to your monster, if a battle is happening between the equipped monster and your opponent's monster, you can switch the equipped monster to defense to negate the attack and end the battle phase. This is a great card to equip off of Arlecchino, so if they normal summon a monster, you can equip it with a Viking Vortex from deck. So that way, if they activate that monster's effect, Viking Vortex goes to the grave, that monster goes to hand, and next turn you have a free at least 1 pop with your Arlecchino. Next, for the 2-ofs, just play 2 Wonder Wheel. You can equip it onto your opponent's monster to switch their attack and defense, or you can equip it onto your monster and it becomes Card Trader. It's not one of the better ones, but it does help out when you're trying to swing for game, because once again, your monsters don't exactly have big attack points. And finally, 2 copies of Rapid Racing. The second effect just increases its level by 1, so unless you're playing XZs or Synchro monsters, the first effect is the one you aim for, which is targeting a card in your opponent's grave. Change the equipped monster's battle position. If you do, shuffle that target into the deck. So if they have a graveyard effect that they haven't resolved yet, if they have something that they want to hang out in the grave, this is a great way to kind of stop that. Well, I hope you all enjoyed the video. That is it for the Amazements. Like I said, it's not the optimal way to play it, but I like playing the pure deck. I like the kind of theme park-esque art style of their entire card lineup. If you have a deck that you'd like me to do, just let me know in the comments. And until then, I will see you next time. Bye.